Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the SBIF District Rollout for September 2024. We'll get started in just a few moments. For everybody who's joining us today, please note that you will receive an email with a copy of the presentation. You can also re-watch this webinar on DPD's YouTube page. If you have any questions during the conversation, feel free to put them in the Q&A box and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. We'll get started in just a moment. Hello again, good afternoon. My name is Kim Brisky. I am with Summer Corps, the administrator of the SBIF program on behalf of DPD. Thanks so much for joining us today for the SBIF September 2024 District Rollout. In this presentation, you'll be able to actually review the actual video again on DPD's YouTube page. You'll also receive a copy of the presentation via email afterwards. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to enter them into the Q&A chat box on the screen. And now we'll turn it over to Nora Curry at DPD to get started.
Hello, everybody. As Kim said, my name is Nora Curry, the SBIF Program Director for the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, or DPD. On behalf of the City of Chicago, thank you for joining us today. The Small Business Improvement Fund, known as SBIF, provides grants to small businesses and property owners to make permanent improvements to your property. Over the last few years, we've made a lot of exciting changes to the SBIF program, including increasing the size of grants available to you and rolling out over $100 million in new funding available in TIF districts across the city. One thing that has not changed is the ample assistance that's available to you as a SBIF applicant. Technical assistance is a key strength of the SBIF program. When you submit your application, you will be assigned to a Summer Corps project manager. That person is there to help you. And they'll be there throughout the SBIF application process. If you have questions about your application or run into issues with the city, such as slowdown in your permits or an issue with your contractor, say, you can call on your Summer Corps project manager, and you should call them immediately. They can help answer questions, and they can sometimes help you clear up the log jams that otherwise would keep your project from moving forward. In addition to your Summer Corps project manager, you have a local delegate agency, and they're another great resource. Those organizations like the local Chamber of Commerce or Community Development Corporation may be the people who told you about this event today, which Sylvia will mention later in the presentation, will point out later in the presentation, are there to help you as well. They often can help with the application itself. They can help introduce you to local lenders and also with any of the city processes that you'll need to work through to complete your project. So we are all here to help support your application because we want to see your businesses and your neighborhoods flourish. And with that, I'm happy to introduce Sylvia Orozco, the SBIF Director for Summer Corps, our Program Administrator. Thanks.
You're muted.
I apologize. Thank you, Nora, for that introduction. As she mentioned, my name is Sylvia Orozco, and I am the Program Director for the Small Business Improvement Fund program. For over 19 years, I've assisted hundreds of existing businesses, landlords, and also startups. Summer Corps is a not-for-profit organization. We administer the SBA 504 loans, as well as the City of Chicago SBIF program, and also the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. Now we are celebrating 25 years of SBIF. SBIF is one of the longest running and most successful programs of the City of Chicago. We've helped retain and expand businesses in nearly every neighborhood, dispersing over $118 million in grants to over 1,900 businesses. Please be advised that this is a non-residential program. The grant cannot be used for capital or operating expenses. It is specifically for infrastructure repairs. Thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started with today's presentation. Today we will go over what is SBIF, what is the program mission, grant parameters, and project timeline. Getting started. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? What are the SBIF program rules? How do you apply? And what are resources available to you to help? We will also go over the September rollout and sample projects. We have SBIF facts for you and the additional question and answer session at the end. What is SBIF? Program mission. Launched in 1999, the City of Chicago's Small Business Improvement Fund program helps promote economic development by providing small businesses and landlords with reimbursement grants for permanent building improvement cost. Residential projects are not eligible. SBIF uses local tax increment financing, known as TIF, revenue to reimburse grantees for the pre-approved repair or rehab of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisition. Summer Corps is the program administrator contracted by the City of Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. LaSalle Corridor, first opened for applications in September of 2023. The LaSalle Corridor is open again this month for new applications. SBIF grants will help entrepreneurs create cafes, restaurants, stores, and other neighborhood-oriented amenities for the Loop's growing population. For additional guidance specific to projects located in the LaSalle Corridor, please review page 7 of the SBIF program rules. You can view the rules at our website at summercorps.com/SBIF. Grant parameters. Applicant type. The property must be in a TIF district where SBIF funds are available and is authorized to accept applications. Landlords of either commercial or industrial properties qualify for SBIF. Owner-operators of commercial or industrial business owners who own the property also qualify. Tenants with prior written approval from property owner. And also startups may apply with a business plan. A current Chicago business license is required. Eligibility. Applicants of commercial or industrial landlords with $9 million or less in cumulative net worth and also $500,000 in liquid assets is the maximum per an individual to qualify for SBIF. Commercial tenants or owner-occupied, on average, their sales must be $9 million or less to qualify. Industrial tenants or owner-occupied of industrial buildings must have 200 or fewer full-time employees. Please note that all owner-occupied properties are subject to both tenant and landlord requirements. Grant size. The maximum grant that can be dispersed for a industrial property is up to $250,000. The maximum for a commercial property occupied by a single owner or tenant can receive up to $150,000. The maximum for a commercial property that is occupied by multiple owners or tenants, with $75,000 being the maximum assistance per an individual applicant. The property cannot exceed $250,000 amongst all applicants. SBIF applications and SBIF grants are non-transferable between applicants and/or properties. Applicants who wish to apply for SBIF funds for more than one property must submit separate applications for each property. Applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum program assistance. Once this maximum is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. Reimbursements. For commercial applicants, if your sales or net worth fall between $0 to $3 million, you'd qualify for 90% reimbursement of eligible cost. If your sales or net worth fall between $3 to $6 million, you'd qualify for 60% of eligible cost. And if the sales or net worth are between $6 to $9 million, you'd qualify for 30% of eligible cost. All industrial projects are eligible for 50% reimbursement. Here we have a grant parameter grant calculation example. Let's say that Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant in an open district with the total eligible project cost of $100,000. She's proposing to make permanent building improvements to her existing retail shop for which she is a tenant. Grace has been in business for 5 years. Over the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged $1.5 million. Here we have a breakdown of eligible costs as follows. The total eligible project costs are at $100,000. As a commercial tenant applicant with gross sales under $3 million, Grace qualifies for a 90% SBIF reimbursement. The city's responsibility at 90% is $90,000, and the applicant's responsibility at 10% is $10,000. The SBIF program is a reimbursement grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the cost of the permanent building improvements. Applicants are encouraged to contact their business lender to reach out to one of the lenders listed or reach out to one of the lenders listed on the Summer Corps' website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to complete their project in phases rather than covering 100% of the project cost up front. To participate, the grantees must receive an approval for the full scope of work and the phase work schedule. Construction timing will be based on necessity and the contractor's recommendations. Receiving phase disbursements will be based on progress of work. Here we have an example of what phasing would look like. So let's say we have an applicant that is looking to complete a roof tear off, install a new HVAC system, and also renovate the facade. So we have a full contract price of $180,000. We know it's difficult to, provide $180,000 upfront for financing. So we're going to break it down for you so you don't have to have the full contract price available to you. So let's just say that, you have a leaky roof and that's priority with the scope of work, with the roofing replacement, with the contract price of $60,000. If the applicant qualifies for 90% reimbursement, you can receive a reimbursement of $54,000. That $54,000 can then be utilized for the HVAC system. Once that HVAC system is complete, you can then receive reimbursement for that portion and then utilize that for the facade renovation. We can disperse up to 3 different grant disbursements, up to 3 grants. Project timeline. In stage 1, this is the applicant eligibility review phase. The applicants are required to submit their documents. They must complete their application materials as well as prove site control. They're granted up to 20 days for stage 1. If deemed eligible, you will be moved into stage 2. This is the project eligibility review phase, where you are required to submit your plans, bids, and specifications, and also cure any debts to the City of Chicago. You're granted up to 120 days to prepare these items. Stage 3 is the project construction phase. Once approved by DPD, the applicants will receive a conditional commitment letter and construction can begin. Concurrently with the proof of permit or permit application, they must be submitted within 120 days following the date of the commitment letter, which is up to 10 months to fully complete the construction. Stage 3.4, this is the proof of financing phase. The applicants are required to prove that they have the funds available to complete the work. You have up to 120 days following the date of the commitment letter to submit proof that you have financing available to you. Once everything is complete as far as the construction goes, you will be moved into stage 4. This is the reimbursement process. We request payment documentation, including sworn statements, invoices, canceled checks, and waivers of lien. Those items are then sent to Summer Corps for review. After a final site visit and processing of documents, the reimbursement will be delivered in approximately 4 to 6 weeks. Unless DPD has granted an extension, applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified and removed from the program. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? You can visit our website at summercorps.com/SBIF to see if your property is in a SBIF district. Once you get to this page you see here, you can click on the locator tool. That locator tool will then take you to this page here where you will enter the address of the property you are looking to renovate. Once that address is entered, you should receive this screen here, which includes the TIF district, the rollout date, and the delegate agency information. So if for some reason that information does not pop up, or it says that you're not in a TIF district, you want to double check, we're always available to double check things for you. Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts with an available funds open for applications. Notice of district openings are provided to relevant aldermen, posted on the DPD and Summer Corps websites, and included in the SBIF grant. You can visit our website for the most up-to-date list of open and on deck districts. What are the SBIF program rules? Here we have a list of ineligible business types. This list is not comprehensive. You can contact Summer Corps with any questions. You can also visit our website for more details. These are just some of the businesses that do not qualify for the SBIF program, including places of worship, private clubs, pawn shops, chain and franchise business. Things of this sort do not qualify, so if you're unclear, you can always reach out to us before submitting an application. Eligible improvement cost. We cover items such as roofing and facades, components of signs and awnings which are permanently affixed to the building, alterations or structures that are needed for ADA compliance, such as railings or ramps, or also creating ADA accessible restrooms, HVAC and other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees that are related to the project can also be reimbursed. Permanent interior renovations, including fixtures, and the purchase of adjacent land parcels for purpose of expansion or parking. Ineligible improvement costs that are not eligible for reimbursement through SBIF include new construction, whether it's an addition or an expansion or build out from the ground up. Any standalone minor repairs or cosmetic improvements, equipment related expenses such as appliances, computers, or office furniture. I do want to note that there are very specific items that are sort of equipment related that we can cover. For example, for commercial kitchens or restaurants, we can cover fire suppression systems and also exhaust hoods. And also walk-in coolers and freezers. Those are the only exceptions that are equipment related items covered through SBIF. Ineligible items are also planters that are surrounding or affixed to the buildings, outdoor dining or drinking areas, including roof decks, beer gardens, outdoor patios, balconies, awnings, porches, and decks are not eligible for SBIF reimbursement. Any fencing, including pergolas, trellises, arbors, privacy screens, and also similar structures. Parking lot construction or repair, landscaping, and work on the interior of residential units do not qualify for SBIF reimbursement. Design requirements. The applicants for commercial properties that are seeking a grant of $25,000 or greater are required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum grant amount. To receive project approval from DPD, improvements must conform to DPD's design guidelines. Applicants are strongly advised to consult with SummerCore and design professionals on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up plans for work. Key exterior design guidelines reviewed during the approval stage include preserving or recreating the original design and window openings when possible. Incorporating permanent signage to clearly identify the business, adequate lighting, especially near entrances to welcome your customers, avoiding window clutter. The windows should let in natural light and attract passerbys to the business. Please refer to the Department of Buildings guidelines for on-premise window signs for more information. Other forms of security that are preferred, but if necessary, only interior mounted security gates that are integrated into the storefront design will be reimbursed. Applicant compliance. Checks will be performed on all applicants during the approval stage to ensure that they are complying with child support laws and not indebted to the city. Any scofflaw debt must be cured to participate in SBIF. Applicants can cure the debt via a city payment plan. Applicants using a payment plan must be in compliance with that to receive any SBIF reimbursement funds. The applicants must be current on property taxes to receive conditional commitments for funding or reimbursement for completed work. Each applicant must sign an economic disclosure affidavit. The grantees must sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate out of the district or sell the property or the business within a 3-year period following disbursement of funds. To be reimbursed, landlord applicants must have an executed lease with a qualified tenant, and that tenant must be occupying and actively operating their business or nonprofit out of the lease space. How do you apply? You can visit our website to complete the SBIF application within the open acceptance period. Please allow 2 business days for SummerCore to confirm receipt of your application via an email response. If you do not receive an email confirmation, please call the main line at 312-360-3300, or you can send an email to sbiff@summercore.com. Applicants are responsible for making sure the submissions are received within the open acceptance period. The applications received after 5 p.m. on the last day of the acceptance period will not be eligible. What resources are available to help? You can visit our website to access resources to support your SBIF projects. You can also connect with your local delegate agency for assistance in filling out your application. Some of the additional resources that are available also include list of licensed contractors, the list of the lenders here, a current application packet resources, as well as design guidelines. So there's information here available to you. If you still have questions, please feel free to reach out either to SummerCore or your local delegate agency. Here are some of the local delegate agencies that are available in the districts that are open for this month. We will provide this information to you, so a copy will be available to you very soon. So for the month of September, here are the current districts that are open for accepting applications, including 63rd and Ashland, Division and Holman, Humboldt Park, LaSalle Corridor, and the Stockyards Southeast Quadrant. There is critical information for the Division in Holman, as well as the Humboldt Park TIF District, For these applicants, we want to let you know that these districts, which are funded by the SBIF program in this area, they're subject to expire at the end of 2025. So when the TIF expires, the SBIF funds will be liquidated and the impacted TIF districts will no longer exist. All approved projects in the Division Holman and Humboldt Park TIF districts must be fully completed by November 15th of 2025 to allow time for processing prior to their scheduled expiration. Applicants in the LaSalle corridor can refer to the SBIF program rules for additional information. Here we have a sample project. This is in Division and Holman TIF. This is Midwest Fence Corporation. They're located at 3233 West Grand Avenue. The previous slide showed the before pictures, after pictures, some of the work that was done to Midwest Fence, and this has been over the years. They have applied for the SBIF program several times, so they're definitely utilizing the available programs to them. They installed 4 double pane sliding doors on the front facade. They did an entire roof project. They also furnished and installed overhead doors, new HVAC system, concrete flooring, also did some truss repairs and security system and lighting upgrades. SBIF facts. What additional documents should you have on hand to submit along with the SBIF application? While it's not required when submitting the initial application form, please note that these items are required to complete the SBIF application process. The required documents vary depending on applicant type. Your project manager will reach out to you and give you a specific list of items based on the operating type. So some of these items may come from you, such as the business tax returns. Some of these items we have templates and will provide to you, such as the economic disclosure statements and affidavit of child support forms. So these are just some of the things that may or may not be required based on the applicant type. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, most startups can apply. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projections of the business's income and expenses for its first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. The City of Chicago reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with startup business applications. If you've only been in business for 1 to 2 years, SummerCore requires tax returns and a projection of gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Am I eligible if I live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business or your property. To participate in SBIF, your property must be in the City of Chicago, as the funding source comes from the City of Chicago property taxes. If your business or property is in another area, please contact that city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what other programs may be available to assist small businesses. What if your building has both business and residential spaces? This program is for business use, but there are mixed-use exceptions. Many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible. Can SBIF be used with other City of Chicago grant programs? The answer is no. SBIF cannot be used at the same time as other financial assistance programs like the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund or Chicago Recovery Plan grants on the same project covering the same work. However, you may apply for multiple grants at the same time and select the best fit for your project, provided that you stay within the grant timeline requirements. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each SIF district that has the SBIF program authorized in it has limited funds reserved for the program. If the demand for the SBIF funds is greater than the available funding supply, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each grant application will be accommodated. If any surplus funds become available, they will be allocated to waitlisted applicants. Is there SBIF funding available in my district? Every SBIF area has its own budget that the city refills if it has TIF funds available and if there is a demonstrated need for more grant money. We also maintain an interested parties list for funds, which you can also send an email to our general inbox at sbif@summercore.com to join. When more funding becomes available or the city allocates more funds, we will let you know. The interested parties list helps the city gauge demand for additional funding. What if I am in a TIF and it is not SBIF? Tax increment financing, TIF, is the mechanism that funds the Small Business Improvement Fund program. If you are in a TIF district and it does not have a SBIF, please contact your alderman. Here we have some contact information for the SBIF team, as well as Nora Curry, who is the director with the city and the Department of Planning and Development. Please note that we do have two websites here. Google Translate is available on the city's website. This is a resource available in other languages, so please feel free to utilize this. And as a reminder, a copy of the presentation and a link to a video will be emailed to all attendees. Now we can go ahead with the question and answer session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Again, if anyone has any questions, now's a great time to put it in the Q&A chat box and we can get through those questions. First off, Sylvia, I always think it's important to just kind of cover what are your most common challenges that you see for SBIF applicants.
So the biggest challenge, since this is a reimbursement grant, is having the upfront financing available to you. We do not want you to get discouraged if this is the case. You still have time to obtain funding for your project, but we do want you to get started with that as soon as possible. A couple other things to think about also, depending on the size of the project, is having a great architect on hand, as well as a great contractor on hand too. So it's never too soon to start reaching out to people, start requesting estimates. Even if you do get estimates now, we may ask that to be revisited down the road. Most estimates are good for about 30 days. So we want to make sure that we don't get any surprises if down the road, material costs a little bit more. So keep those sorts of things in mind. We require at least 2 competitive bids. I always suggest that you obtain more. You sort of get a feel for how responsive the contractors are, their knowledge of the field that they work in, so we allow you to decide who your preferred contractor is, as long as they are licensed by the city of Chicago and provide their certificate of insurance. You can decide as long as they're within reasonable range of the other estimates.
Great, that's very helpful. Another question, you talked a little bit earlier about site control. Could you define what that is and why that's important for the SBIF program?
Sure. So site control, we want to know that you either own the space that you're looking to renovate or you currently have an executed lease agreement on file. So if you do not own it or lease it, unfortunately, we will not be able to pursue the SBIF grants until you have something in place for that. So again, keep in mind that we have the full 30-day acceptance period through the end of September. You will, let's say we don't have to do a lottery there and we're able to move forward into stage 1, you'll have 20 days to either close on a property if needed. I know that's pretty tough, trying to set your own schedule for things like that, but you will definitely need an executed lease agreement with at least a minimum of a 3-year term. Now, that is actually in place to protect you as the applicant. We want to make sure that if you're investing in someone else's property, that you are going to basically be able to utilize that for at least 3 years. And someone's not going to say, okay, now you fixed up my building. Now I can get twice as much rent from someone else. So it's all in the best interest of you as the applicant.
That's really helpful. And another question that I had specifically, is a construction company eligible for the grant? And I'll add a tag-along question there. If you are a construction company, would you be able to be your own GC on the project?
So contractors, general construction companies do qualify for SBIF. However, you cannot act as your own contractor. You will have to basically obtain additional estimates from different companies that are not associated with your business. So we can allow them to move forward, but you cannot act as your own contractor. And that goes for any applicants, whether they are a construction company or not.
That's helpful. We have a question here specifically. They wanted to ask about property expansion. I have the opportunity to make my 20-year restaurant larger by occupying the property next door. Would this be eligible? I will own that space. It's abandoned and it currently needs rehab. So I guess the question is, would they be able to use the SBIF both for the purchase of the space and the renovation, one or the other? Can you dig into that?
Sure, congratulations on 20 years. That's great to be expanding into this adjacent space. So whether you can purchase the adjacent property for expansion all depends on whether or not you currently own the property that you're currently operating out of. So if you currently own the property, you're operating your business, of which you own both, and you're looking to expand, we can actually provide funding for the acquisition of the property itself. We do need to have the proof of ownership on file before we can disperse any funds. And also we can utilize the funds for the build out of the space as well.
And I would say, dependent on the cost of all of the renovations and the purchase that you want to do, I would encourage you to come talk to us also about the SBA 504 program. These two things could potentially be used really well together here to help you purchase the space and then use the grant to be able to do that work. So that would be very exciting.
Yes.
Somebody wanted to know if structural repairs to the floor can be used or can be covered by the SBIF grant.
Yes, we can cover the floor joists, we can cover the underlayments, the flooring on top, whether it's vinyl, cover hardwood floor, ceramic, things of that sort. So we can definitely cover those items.
Okay. Somebody was asking, how do they know if applications are going to open back up in the area? I can answer that for you, Sylvia. Anybody who wants to find out when their area is going to be opening back up again, you can send us an email, spiff@summercore.com, or if you're already in our database and you say, hey, I'm interested in having utilizing the SBIF grant in my area, you're in our database. In the interested party, you will be emailed automatically when that area opens again. You can always check our website, which has everything on the schedule for what's going to go this year, plus sign up for the SBIF grant. Tons of ways to find out whether or not your area is going to open again. Let's see. Would a business fall under the startup if they, let's see, I apologize. So there's this, I have somebody here who actually wants to get a little bit more guidance on business planning, which is not necessarily something we will cover with the SBIF grant, Graham, but can you talk about when, again, you need to be able to apply, what you need to apply as a startup business? Because I think there's the site control issue, there's business plan projections. Can you kind of run over what you would need to have in place to be able to apply as a startup?
Sure. So obviously site control was definitely a requirement. A business plan, as well as projections of income and expenses for the next 36 months will be required. So let's say you've been in business for 1 to 2 years. You can submit your tax returns that you've already filed, and then you can also submit the projections of the next 1 or 2 years, depending on your situation. So that way we have 3 years of data on file for your project.
And I was going to say, I'm sending this in an email to this person, but also we work with tons of awesome organizations around the city that support small businesses, whether you work with the folks at BACP, another city department, or you reach out with Allies for Community Business, the Cook County Small Business Source. All of these folks have free business advising services that are great to take advantage of for specific business plans.
Also, Women's Business Development Center.
Women's Business Development Center too.
Yeah, the city of Chicago has their own small business resource center also, so I highly encourage you to reach out to them.
So yeah, so the person who was asking about the expansion before, so they don't currently own the property where they are at, but they would want to own the property next door. So if they could
Okay.
use, so that's why they want to know if they could use it for just the grant, for the repurchase. So still
Oh.
maybe a way to do combo together, but that is more
So,
tricky.
yes, there is a way that we can still help out here. So we wouldn't be able to help with the acquisition of the property through SBIF. However, the 504 loan program can still be utilized for the purchase of the building itself. And SBIF can then cover the renovations to that space.
It's helpful. Somebody asked, do you need to have all architectural drawings and estimates at the time of applying, or you can get just like a rough cost and able to apply?
You can get a rough cost. I would estimate on the higher end, just in case. Price tags are looking a little scary these days, but don't get discouraged. You know, we do want to have estimates. We don't require them at the time of submission of the application, nor with the architectural drawings either. We do want to have an idea of what you're looking to do, even when you are ready to submit your estimates. You know, for some of the work, we don't need the official architectural drawings, but if we can have either a digital or hand rendered, you know, drawing just to give us an idea of what the space looks like now and what it's going to look like after the renovations are done, we can accept that as well.
You know, I don't know if we may need Nora to pop in because I'm not 100% sure about the answer to this question. If somebody is going through a zoning appeal process, can you still have that going on while you got an answer on this one? Oh,
Yeah.
you know, Sylvia, I should not ever question. Again, 19 years, you've seen it all. So I guess the question is, if something's going on, at what time can you actually apply?
Unfortunately, we cannot accept an application if you are looking to do a zoning change. The reason is this is a very time-consuming process. So the entire construction time frame for someone to get a project completed is 10 months. From my experience, all of these zoning changes that have taken place have been anywhere from 2 years or longer. So we cannot accept an application until that zoning has officially been changed. And then once we have another acceptance period, you can then submit an application for that project.
That's helpful. See, I should not have doubted. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's participation today. We're really excited to see all of your applications. Again, just a little bit of a reminder that if you are interested in a project in the LaSalle corridor, to specifically refer back to the SBIF rules for that area, just to make sure you're all up to speed. If you have any other questions, as always, feel free to reach out to us. Here's our contact information back up on the screen. Everybody will be receiving a copy of the presentation, and you can go back and rewatch this again on DPD's YouTube page. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.